Oh, come on. Stream start stream. That should be good to go. What do I need to work on? I need to fix my main menu again. It's going off. Get a link to the stream. Hopefully it's not too noisy. Got neighbors doing construction. I have no idea if anybody's in here. What's going on? I don't think so. Cool. Make sure everything's good. Shall we try and get some music on? Testing, microphone's working. Cool. Let's try that. YouTube will probably tell me off in the long run, but we'll see. Um, right. I need to do a build so I can check to see if the menu is working. What's going on? Hamid, hey, what's up? Not much? All good? Hey dude, is the stars and planets in your main menu a skybox, sphere, or uh, I'm also making a main menu level at the moment. Right, so the stars in the background are actually just a noise material. Cool. So let's go here. If I jump in, all it is a modified material. Which it's a little bit complex. It's probably overcomplicated for what it needs to be. But it allows me to have full control over the size and scale, and then it's just fed into an emissive. So I've got some flickering stuff going on, which again, probably not doing all that much in reality. But it's all driven by a noise. So if I start a preview, it's driven by a noise, and then it kind of goes black. It doesn't work very well in the material preview itself, but if I open this up and we dock this, what we can see is if I modify any of this, I can change how it is, and then like the repetition and everything. So basically it's just a custom shader. It was easier than doing a full skybox and then loading in multiple textures or one giant image. It was easier to just do a shader for this. Later on, I'd probably change it to a skybox and then go the old school method where it's just rectangle textures. But that's pretty much it. Because they're so far away, even though they're a little bit stretched and warped because it's just a noise material, like if I go back up to it again, you can see how it's warped and all that. But if I change it, I can change like the distance, and then the noise starts to get a little bit too much. But because you're really far away, kind of just merges all into one, and then you can kind of get away with it. So it works quite nicely. I can't remember what sentence I had previously. Let me just undo. There we go. But yeah, I can also change the color of them, so I can make them proper pink. Make sure it shows up on the screen. I just add a little blue, and then the best part is because of the AA, the anti-aliasing on the Quest, it naturally gives them like a little flicker. So kind of get away with having it look good. Make sure my lighting cool. But yeah. Also, I just want to know how to do good stars from a material. I'm also interested in how far the widget blueprint main menu should be away from the player start. That bit's more like custom, so it's more personal preference. Because I could move it further away and then make it bigger. But in reality, as long as my widget interaction can touch it, doesn't really make much difference. It's like this at the minute, but it's probably going to change. So I don't really need to worry about it all that much. What I can do is I can jump in though. My room scale's off, so I'm going to be pretty tall, I think. But this is the same thing. It's like you guys can't see it, but if I... Let's do this. I'm going to put that window up there. And then I'll share the screen again. Device manager, cast. Let's get this up and running. Oh, my hands are so cold. There we go. We can see the menu. And then you can see that twinkle a little bit more. So that's just, the twinkle's just from the anti-aliasing affecting the material, which is quite nice. But then I've got the material running through a stereo layer, so I get much better quality. And then the lighting as well. I've upgraded my lighting, so I do actually have dynamic shadows on Quest. And just for anybody interested, I've already set it up so I can actually change the text between Dyslexia font and then the project's font as well. So kind of been working on a bunch of different things at the minute. But the problem is this menu all of a sudden isn't showing up in the APK build. So I kind of need to sort that out. Awesome, I got my stereo layer working. Down the quality is so much better. It's crazy. It's so good. Like the difference it makes is insane. As long as you got them set up correctly, you're all good. My issue at the minute is I think something's overriding it because I changed a bunch of render settings. However, the stereo layers work in the demo level that I have. So if I jump to the demo level, project settings, what pack did I run? Demo room. Okay, I'm gonna put the build I've just done on the headset because I can show it better in there. So I've just done this build, but we'll test it. And then I'll show you the demo level, which has stereo layers on the hand menu as well. And some other stuff that I've been working on, so if people are interested, they can get an update. God, what's going on with people? I don't know if anybody in here has seen, but I put a post up. I uploaded a video about the Pimax Crystal Light, and even in the video, I mentioned how people say you just got to get used to it, and then I'm getting comments telling me that I just didn't use it long enough and I haven't got used to it, and I'm just like, it's not the problem. What is going on with people? Right. Where were we? Put it up. Don't know why my environment is black. Oh, okay. Alright. Project right. This should be the latest version, and then we boot up into the level. It's a little bit low. I don't have PSO caching, so everything takes a minute to load in. But I improved the lighting, so this is all running directly off the headset. My room scale is a little bit off, so I'm a little bit tall. That's a bug. But yeah, I've got dynamic shadows for guns, and then I've also got a light on it, so it actually gives me a bounce effect. I don't know why this ball doesn't fall down. But we've got shadows, and then depending on the distance, they actually disappear. So it's a bit harsh right now for the popping, so I need to fix that. But I also used the stereo layers for these. So if I go close to it, the widget's actually built into the computer screen. Or it was working. Oh, it's because I'm right-handed. I need to fix that. Right. There we go. So I can actually interact with it on the screen, or I should be able to. Let's do this one. Bugs. There we go. And then I can go through each one, and it's actually curved to the mesh. So it's a UI or a UMG, which is then projected onto a plane using a dynamic material. So I can build like an interactable computer. And then I've got fake reflections on this, similar to what they do in Red Matter. And I've also built a subtitle system, so I can then give information and then display stories, and then it'll hide itself, and then it'll come back as well, which is really cool. And it's all like on top of the world, so it's done once. So I do get some good results. I get some shadow issues with the doors and things like that are movable, but I think later on I can work on them. So these UI don't have stereo layers, so you can see as I'm far away that the aliasing is quite bad. However, if I open up my hand menu with a stereo layer, you can see the difference. Like, it's so much sharper and it looks so much better. And I can go through. I've also got a HUD scale, which is where the display's loaded in. And that's actually done on an async load. So when I hit the UI, that widget doesn't actually exist until I press that button. And then it's removed when I like change the button. So it's loaded and then unloaded as well. So it's not taking up unnecessary memory on the HUD anymore. What else have I got? I was working on the hallway. This bit as well in here. But I need to sort that out. It's not casting dynamic shadows anymore. So it looks really bright. But overall, it's working quite well. And then these computer screens are really nice. Although there's just bugs with the UI. That's all it is. It was more a test to see whether I could get it to work. But the lighting as well looks so much better. This is all baked lighting. Like, textures are pretty low resolution, but from a distance it works really nice. And then we've got shadows. Yeah. I keep forgetting to turn it off in the headset. Neil. Also got my stereo layer working. I had to rotate my widget by 180 degrees on the Z-axis to get it to show stereo layer properly on standalone. I don't rotate the widget, I rotate the stereo layer. So on the hand menu, the stereo layer itself is a child, and then that's what's rotated 180. It stops any of the math from getting messed up on the widget itself, because the stereo layer can be a child. So you don't really need to worry about it, which is really cool. Streams like I haven't rotated to show it properly, but it works. Yeah, same here. Those screens are awesome. Thank you. So they're pretty simple, actually. Maps, demo room. I'll show you. So the computer screens are widgets, so they do have a widget built into it, which detects the UI hit, but they're not rendered. So it's disabled, and rendering the main pass is disabled. And then I feed the render target into a dynamic texture, which then updates when it's on screen. And then that allows me to project the UMG to a plane or a mesh, and then I can have it any shape and design that I want, which makes it work so much better. Those screens are awesome. JLG, what is your take on using mega lighting in a VR project, or is it expensive for VR? I've never used mega lights in a VR project. I don't think they work on mobile. Typically you want baked lighting or something that doesn't cast shadows. Though mega lights is going to be incredibly expensive because I think it runs on ray tracing. So it's not going to work on mobile VR, which is what I'm targeting, which is why I haven't used it. But overall, it's going to be very expensive. Same as Nanite and Lumen. using those on mobile VR is quite the hit. So if you're using them in VR, it's quite the hit. So if you're doing mobile VR, you're going to want to not use them. That makes sense. How's the muzzle flare projecting light on a surface? That's cool. It's a light bulb. I've got a light bulb on the end of the gun. Thanks for explaining the diamond texture for the stereo layer. I never thought of doing that. Cool. So yeah, the guns is just a light. So when I pull the trigger, it turns the light on for a split second and then turns it off. You need to make sure that you're not casting dynamic shadows. So you're not casting shadows, you need to turn that off. And I have modified all my device profiles and project settings as well. So what works in here might not work for yours. So you just got to keep that in mind. But for now, I need to figure out why my main menu isn't working and then go from there. So it's going to be a lot of just building and then retrying. I'm not sure whether it's related to screen fade. If I'm removing something and then that's what's breaking it, but I haven't touched any of that. The only thing I changed was project settings. Yeah, I see it's movable. Does it impact performance much? Or is it fine because it's only for a split second? Or does the FPS drop when the light comes on? If I had cast shadows enabled, it would probably have a frame rate hit, but because it's just the light, it's working quite well so far. I think there might be a hitch on the mobile when you first press the trigger because it's got to load that reference in, but no, it doesn't. The light's always loaded, so it should be on there. I don't see a hitch with the gun when it goes off, so I don't really need to worry about it. Alright guys, give me just a second because I've got to take a phone call. Let me do this. There we go. Right. Let's do that. Right, I'll be back in a second, guys. Cool. Alright, everybody, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to do a phone call. Fun stuff. I've got to fix the main menu. Splash screen, splash screen, we've done that. So if I do project settings, Android build, we should be good. I also need to change around how my dialogue system works. I think the dialogue system works. I can't remember how I built it. The problem is I load some stuff up, so I've got to make sure I async load it and then unload it when I don't need it. But I can't remember if I did that with the audio or if it was with the widget. So I'll have to take a look, and I'm thinking I might move it as well. Move the logic to a location where it only happens once instead of multiple times inside an actor. So I might move it to the game instance and then we work on that for a little bit. Because if I can get the stuff to load in the game instance, I can stack it up in there as well, and then I can have it as a like an array. So how's everybody doing? Are you all good? My phone keeps going off since I put that video up. Ooh, I've got 8 comments on one of them. While that's doing its thing, it's like I put posts on Reddit about the Pimax stuff. People are like trying to say it's me in a way. Which one was it? Basically, that's just unlucky. Oh, it was on the YouTube channel. Somebody said it was probably just my luck. I would love to get a PSVR 1. A PSVR 2 actually I'd love to get. I didn't even get that far. I didn't even get far enough to review the PC stuff because it just wasn't working. Let people read that and figure out why I got this error. It's because the headset's froze. Oh. Wait, I gotta restart it. There we go. On the other screen. Discord, nothing's on fire. Come on. Install. Install. There we go. Cool. Let's cast screen. Please work, please work, please work. Well, that's a bit weird. So, that was strange. I always build my APKs and have to use MetaQuest Dev Hub to add them to my headset. That's the best way. That's the best way to build in for an Unreal Engine headset. I find just double clicking the install.bat works for me. Hi, I'm South Korean. I always watch your tutorials. Thank you. You're welcome. Absolutely welcome. So cool. Right. Blueprints. Game instance. It loaded, but it didn't remove the XR load screen. Date. See, this is the problem with this specific stuff, is I need to do it on all of them. I need to do it in the blueprints, and then I need to test it. So this is what I had. I had this after the screen fade. See? So I'm wondering if I'm removing it after, and that's the problem. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to see if that fixes it. Because I think it's an order of operations. I think removing this the level fade is causing the problem. So if I do it before everything else, it should hopefully work. That's the HUD. Problem is the menu might spawn too fast. Let's try. Every time I build, I have to delete my intermediate folder if I want to repackage, or I get an unknown error. So annoying. That's brutal. That's really brutal. That would annoy me so much. I used to have it with old versions of the engine. There was an issue in there, but I haven't had that in a very long time of needing to go through and do it. I got so close to getting all of this first section to work, only to then break it, which is why it's so annoying. Right, instead of screen sharing, because it seems to be crashing the headset every now and again, I'm just going to test it, and then we can jump back and forth. But I'm pretty sure it is an issue with the remove loading screen, which is annoying. Because remove load screen seems to remove, or clear load screen, seems to be removing UMGs in the level as well. But only on this, only on the main menu. That worked. Wait. I'm going to do it again. See if there's any stuttering. Okay, there's a flicker, so I need to change where it happens. Fade out. Yeah, it's being removed too soon. So I need to do instead of there. I wonder if I could do screen fade. Oh, it says actor, haven't I? So I can't get a direct reference. What I could do. Fade to scene. We could get the game instance. Or update, remove XR load screen. Try that. So it starts, loads in, and then it tells it to remove. So we're not doing it here. Try this. And then I'll screen capture this one. Yeah, it's only happening since I upgraded to 5.4. I still don't think I had any issues with it. I haven't to delete the intermediate file. It's a bit of a strange one, especially having to go through it. Cool. Install. Let's make sure the headset is on. Fast. Install. Still going. See, normally everything will be fine, but the fact that I've got to do this specific test, quite frustrating. Please work. Please work. See? Menu's gone. So, something to do with removing the load screen. Hide load screen node just removes any UI. It's really frustrating. Do oh. I don't get why it affects the menu in here, but it doesn't affect it anywhere else. Not using virtual textures, so we're okay. Do that, start, and then we immediately remove it. I've tried, well, when I haven't been on stream, I've tried using event tick to see if the menu still plays, but it's just not doing it. So the removal of the load screen seems to remove it completely from the game. But anything in the demo world doesn't get removed, it's just this. And that's why it's so confusing. So, anybody here working on anything fun? Nope. I could add an option where we don't show a load screen. So if the splash screen starts, we don't show the OpenXR load screen, which is this one. I could put a boolean in, so I could pass that boolean through, say if boolean is true, only then show the load screen. So from the splash screen to the main menu, we don't have one, which would make sense anyway. So we'll try this, make sure it shows up, and then we'll take a look at doing that. It'd be really nice not to need load screens, but targeting quests is going to be incredibly unlikely. There we go, that worked. That did work. So I need to do a check. There we go. Go through VR game instance. This is going to be false by default. Default value false. Excellent. So then the main menu, we've got this. Let's go through to you, and then this one. Create character. Character, and then load a level. Load new level. Okay, you do not go in there then. So, place. Seats. Just do that. Display load screen there. By default it is false. And then in main menu, character setup, we just tick true. Now what I need to do is remove the XR load screen after the hands have started. Take a look at that in a minute. Let's see if this works. Installed. Phone on the floor. So if I cast the screen, we should be able to go all the way through to the first level, and then it should work. Projects. There we go. Alright, color. Fade. Load screen. And then we never get rid of it. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. It just means we're not removing it. So I was removing the load screen in the previous one. So what I could do is in here it was happening at the end. So as soon as it starts, then it was doing it. Try this. Hopefully the scene started. I could then do, for instance, update remove XR load screen. It's either gonna I was gonna say it's either gonna work or it's either not, which would just be the case in most situations. What I'm worried about is because I'm removing at the end, it's just gonna do the exact same thing in the main menu and then hide it. Although the main menu is not loading up, so what I need to do is check the game instance, VR game instance, display loading screen branch. If display loading screen is true, then we hide the XR loading screen and set it back to false. The question is, do I keep it at the screen fade? No, I need to remove the screen fade only after everything's loaded. I'm gonna have a look. I'll have to check it. I just forget because the camera's in the way, you guys can't see the output log. So it just looks like I'm not doing anything. Got the lid on this water. What's going on? There we go. What's new? Yes. Load screen. Yeah, it'll disappear by now. Should have been removed. This didn't load. I like chucking a few print strings around the place when I can't tell where things are getting stuck. Yeah, normally that would help, but in this case, it's not going to help all that much. Just because of the way that the load screens are handled. Just need to make sure that I'm checking the logic right. So displays load screen is true, that goes through. We know that it displays the load screen and then it finishes. Problem is it's not removing the load screen. So in here, which is where it was animated, do it, but the widget blueprint wasn't loaded. So we do this VR game instance, and then we call event update remove XR load screen. Studio 3D, hello. It's nice to see other people doing the same thing in other parts of the world at the same time. You're great. Awesome. Thank you so much. It is. It's just nice to hang out with people doing the same thing as well. Knowing that everybody else is struggling alongside me. It's pretty good. Package projects. I think I've had way too much caffeine today. Don't forget, guys, we've got a Discord. So if anybody wants to join it, and you're not already in there, then you can head on over. We have full stream of just looking at the same screen. The worst part. If the screen fade doesn't disappear from here, it's probably meaning that I'm not calling it. So I need to call it from somewhere and then go through there. Been trying to get pass-through working for a little tabletop game at work, but haven't been able to work it out. Followed your touch for about a year ago, but some settings were different now, I think. Yeah, things have changed quite a bit. I've got some new videos going up on the Patreon and YouTube members regarding the MetaXR toolkit and the MetaXR interaction toolkit. So MRITK toolkit. I got the long one. But I've got some videos coming out next week, I think it is, which covers pass-through setup using those and then getting it all back up and running, because a couple of things have changed since the old videos. So yeah. But check out the documentation. It works really well for the meta stuff. We've got some good stuff on there. I think as long as you set up your alpha on it, it should be a lot of the same process. I think the hardest part is getting custom scene anchors to work. That's the nightmare. Especially because you've got to upload them to the marketplace before you can actually get it to work. Cool, check it out. Awesome. That worked. Device screen share actually worked. I need to figure out why I'm kind of off center a little bit. Or it might just be the way I'm sitting. I might keep, leaning around a bit. Cool. There we go. New game. Great character. Fade out. Load screen. Fade back in. Also have my audio working. We need to fix the hands on that as well, because they come back really slowly. Wait for it. Should be able to see the shadow. There it is. Hello. There we go. So I need to fix that. But dynamic shadows on Quest, which is really nice. You do collisions, and I've got a lot of computer screens which I can go up to and then interact with. Can't remember if I've set up my inputs, but I think I'm just going to use pointers. I think it's a little bit easier. Ooh. Yeah, VR dev can be slow. Usually just a PC VR, but this one running on the headset. Yeah, it's also harder to hit like performance limits on the headset as well. You need to be able to make sure that you're actually hitting the performance. At least 72, otherwise it looks like crap. And then pass through also takes a hit. So it's a bit of a nightmare. Different main menu. Fine. No. Let's jump into the demo room. all of this. All right, bedtime for me. No worries, and thank you. Good night. Hope it's not too late for you. What would this fall under? This would be. Update dialogue, and then I need a soft object. What's it fall under? Audio components. Hey, hello. Is Unreal hard to make games with? Wouldn't say so. I find Unity harder, but it all depends what you're used to. I don't know what I'm looking at. You're looking at a visual scripting language. So this is called Blueprints. This is what Unreal Engine uses to create code on top of C++. So by default, Unreal Engine uses C++ logic, but it has this visual language exposed to it, which is little boxes you can connect up, and then you can use that. So for example, what's happening here is we have an event which is being triggered by another blueprint in our case that says event update dialog. So we send through a reference to say this is going to contain all of our dialog information, and then we're going to store a reference to the audio component we want that audio to play on. At which point we load it in to memory, and then we check to see if it is a primary data asset dialog. If it is, then we can get a bunch of information out of it, and it's an array, so I can stack that up. We won't worry about that, but you can see here that I'm getting, so I get, and then I get a bunch of information from it. If the length of the array is less than 0, or basically 0, then it's only going to play one sound and then play. If it's not, it means that it's longer and then there's more information in it, and we're going to kind of loop through it. Then we set the sound, we play the sound, and then we update our subtitle system, which is over here. So update subtitles. Basically, this node fires this logic here. And then we delay, and then we loop. So that's a really brief overview of what it looks like. But it can get complex, and it can get complex quite fast. But it's just a coding language. Quite a powerful one, to be fair. I think if you come from another game engine, people will complain about it. But it works quite nicely. That's a lot. That's nothing. Honestly, I've got character blueprints. Like my base character, I've got that, and then I've got my character controller. Never remember which one is my main one. Oh, it's in here. Character controller. So I've got this, and then in here has got a bunch of different graphs which contain more logic. So it can get complex quite fast, but once you can read how it all goes together, it works really well. So it's not too much to worry about. Right, so the idea is that we load through here. We've got this data asset text, which I can then update. So we can say we got all of this. Jonathan, are you there? What's going on? And then we can do another one. Say subscribe. Oh, I deleted it. There we go. And we say that's going to stay on the screen for 2 seconds. So file save all. So the idea is when we hit this, it sends the message to our game instance and then does everything we already have. But all of this logic's disconnected. So instead of duplicating it each time, so what was happening, I have this box, and then I had another box. That code was duplicated. But now it just exists inside the game instance, so I'm only calling it once from both. So the idea is I should be able to pass the message through to them. I'm not too sure what's going to happen if we overlap both of them at the same time though. So we'll take a look. But if I can keep the dialogue system inside of here, then that would work really well. And then it means it's accessible from any blueprint, literally any blueprint in our entire game, to display subtitles and text. Which will be super cool, but we need to test that. So I'm going to set the headset up to go through VR. It's all wobbly. There we go. So now if I do that, the problem is you guys can't see it still because of the UMG stuff. So I'm going to do cast onto the other screen. There we go. So you guys can see this menu. Got one hand a different color than the other. So hopefully this should still work the exact same way. There we go. And hopefully it should just say subscribe and then disappear. And then we keep going. Ooh, the next one didn't do it. Let's take a look. That one didn't play. Question is why? It might be because that didn't get reset. Hippie, well, what is the VR game about? It's going to be a sci-fi linear story narrative, ideally. Still working on it. I don't want to give too much away too soon. Good afternoon. How's the progress? It's going well. We fixed some bugs with the main menu not appearing on the APK build because I changed it around. I've also got dynamic shadows working on the quest. I've got a fake reflections shader set up so I can fake reflections on there as well, and a couple of other things. But now it's a case of getting this to update here. I wonder if I could use that. I've got voice line complete. I wonder if I can just do that. VR game instance. Branch. If voice line is not complete, it's going to flick through. But if it is, we get the current audio. We set this back to 0. Current audio, set that back to 0. And then current audio source, we can also clear that. And I think that might. The only thing I've got to do is make sure on this audio source in here that this is set to voice line complete. Although I could do I need to move my player so I'm a bit closer to this. Didn't go through, but that one did work. Ah, close the wrong window. Right. So the problem with this, voice line message complete, if it is, I need to loop through, play it once more, and then do it. Do that, loop through. That should have worked. Maybe I put it before. Maybe that way. Let's try that. And I'll make sure I cast so you guys can see the text. Otherwise you can't. There, and that should disappear. Yes. Nice. So now, I basically have a way to send audio to the player from anywhere. And all I have to do is call this event update dialog. But I've got a feeling I need to change this array. So what I'm curious about, let me make a couple of these close together. What do we put in here? Alien. Watch out. Cool. So we do that. So alien, let's say it's on for 2 seconds as well. 2 seconds. What I could do actually for the delay is make every message on screen. Oh no. I know what I was going to do. I don't know whether I should override it though. I'll leave that just in case. I won't say what it is just in case I don't do it. Cool. Watch out. There we go. We'll do that. Two. The best part is the size of this. So if I jump to this blueprint, I do a size map, 404 kilobytes. And then the game instance, which is permanently loaded. It's 446 kilobytes. So to make this whole setup work, it's about a meg. Literally about 1 megabyte. Because it's all done in the game instance, which is super cool. And then we duplicate. Let's say we need more lines. Do that and on there. So I'm doing this specifically to break it. I've got a feeling if I run through all of these, it's going to kind of overwrite each other. So it's a case of, do I let it overwrite the last one and cut it off? Or do I stack them up in an array so it can then loop through all of them? Which I think is going to be the better option. Because you don't really want them missing out on specific dialogue. Like gameplay wise, you can have it broken up. Yeah. Yeah. So there we go. So it's kind of overwriting the last one. We need a way to stop that from happening. Stacked dialogue. Inflate it. I could have it before the async load and then load the soft references, but I'm calling it from here. So I don't know whether it's just worth having it on there. Let's try it here and then we can see. Right, you, it's going to be an array. Dialog, array, s dialog struct. We add to it. We need to add it to an array, basically. So every time it's added in here, it hits it. We say add to array, and then it loads up. So yeah, I could do that. I could have it on here. Array, fine. And I do that because I take this and I go. There we go. Add. Add that. So now it stacks up. So now we're storing all of the erased content that goes in there. We could do get a copy, plug that into there. It might be easy to do this. Because that's the bit that's stacked, that's each one. Stacked dialogue. That, like so. It loops through this one. See, it's an array. I need to get. Could loop through and then add each one. if I compile it, it's just going to run this all the way through. It's going to fill up. And that fills up. If I hit each box, it's going to do compile multiple times. Or completed multiple times. That's the problem. It's going to fire that each time. If it's not greater than, it's greater than. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. No, I don't need the first one. No issues though. Got 9 lines, or at least 10 to go through. Oh, it's this. The stuff I just added is resetting it because it hits the. I realize you guys can't see it. That worked. It did work. But I still need to reset it. The array is empty. And clear it. Like that. I think it just jumps straight to the end. Oh my god, these windows. And they're all 2 seconds between messages. Doesn't seem to be stacking up. Then so we're adding them in. We're getting them. Try and simplify this. That's what I need to do. If the current audio line is greater than 0, I need to stop the complete from running each time. Let me see if I do it do once. We're gonna know. See, the problem is it just jumps straight to the last one. So it goes from this section here, missing the subscribe, and then straight to the last one as well. just saying turn around. So it's a problem with keeping this all the way through. It says cool forever. I just joined. Will this game be PCVR or will it be able to run just on the headset? It's going to be on the headset, so it's going to be standalone. Well, it should hopefully be on the marketplace, but it's got a long way to go yet. Vulcan VU1C3N. Thanks for your tutorials, mate. I love your stuff. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad they're helpful. Right, so we go through, we stack these up. We're pulling them from the stacked dialogue line, which we go through and then loop. That's kind of pointless. I've stripped out so much, I probably just made this so much worse. Stack dialogue. If it's less than 0, actually. I wonder if we could do the do once. True, do once. Is empty. Is empty, we don't do anything. If it's not, we play through. And then we loop through as well. We get the next one, which won't be increment. However, if the dialogue stuff is empty, because we've removed it, then we set that back to through, which is just there. We don't really loop it again. So let's see if that stacks. And what I want to do is get the length. We are not empty. Check the current length and then see if it's being removed. So if we run through this, 8, 7, what? Not empty though. Dialogue. If it's empty, that's fine. We don't do anything. Stack dialogue current. Why does it mess up? Something to do with the delay, maybe? This. It's not displaying the last one either. So in here, I'm not getting the subscribe message because of the voice line complete. We know that this is stacking up, which is fine. Wait, happening multiple times, that's fine. We need to do like a do once. And if it's empty, we reset it. True. Something like that. Before anybody complains about the code, it is placeholder. I can improve it later. It's not giving the last message. Current audio line we get, and at the end of it, we remove it. What if I'm doing it too soon? Doing it after the integer is getting the wrong one? That might make some sense. Fix one step at a time. I'm also aware that you guys can't see the text, so I apologize, but I'm just trying to get through this as fast as I can. Oh, game. Do once. I'm not using voice lines complete. Why is it not doing it? Oreo, hello. Welcome to the stream. Stacked dialogue. It is empty. True. No. So we filled it up here, which means we've got stuff in it, and then we've got a current audio line. That goes through. So if it's false, we then play set sound, or we set the sound, we then play the sound file that we want from this, update the subtitles, do all of that, and then delay based on the length of it before it goes through. At which point we remove it. From the array, wait 2 seconds, and then we increment the audio line so we go onto the next line, or the next one in the array. We look forward. Check if it's empty. If it's not, then we go back through. feel like what I need to do is check to see which lines are getting put in there. Oriole, is visual scripting better or C++? It entirely depends on what you're doing. I prefer visual scripting. I've used it for years. It's quick, fast, and pretty damn stable now. So there's not much difference. However, if you were to target, let's say, multiplayer projects, you'd probably want to then use C++ because it's faster to calculate server side, and then it's faster to do math as well with C++. So there's some benefits, there's some ups and downs, but overall I've never had an issue with using blueprints and visual scripting to do any of the projects that I've worked on. So it's entirely up to you. I also find it easier and quicker. Yeah. Cool. Right, first, what's going on? Did you hear that? Still missing the subscribe. Like, these aren't sending the message. How did you personally learn Unreal? I'm pretty much self-taught for all of it. I got headhunted out of uni to work in a small studio, and that was developing e-learning and ArcViz projects for clients and VR, such as the HTC Vive, and then just kind of stuck with it. Left there and started my own stuff, and then just been doing it ever since. Just read the documentation. You normally be pretty good at it. We know that stack dialog box is getting all of it. Well, why is that problem? Let's remove that. Remove. Right. I know you guys can't see it, so I'm going to share the screen again. So if I run up, run through, are you there? What's going on? We don't get the subscribe. Oh, there we got subscribe. That went all the way through. Ah, I keep closing that one. That worked. This little bastard's the problem. Oh, I'm removing an item and then I'm flicking through it. That's the problem. I'm removing an item and then I'm removing it from the array so it changes the order and then it's kind of like stepping. That's why. Logan, any notable resources? I've got the YouTube channel. I've got a bunch of videos on there. There's the main documentation and then other YouTube channels. That's pretty much it. And after that, it's just kind of working on a project and seeing what goes well and what doesn't. It's honestly the best way to do it. We loop around. Let me remove the item. Bypass the int. So it removes it, loops around, and then should get 0. See if that works. Be there. Subscribe. I did it. And it doesn't show up. Not sure what is. Problem is the do once. So now, if I remove it and I get is empty, true, I can then reset the array. See what happens there? Are you trying to avoid using print for debugging? Because that's what I would use. Would try first. No, I'm not trying to avoid it. I just don't need it. It's just it's not giving me any information I don't already have on screen. Cool, that's the last line here, and then that should disappear. And then I've got a bunch more here, so if I run back through, we should get the same things. What's going on? Hey, I think we're on the right track. That's fine. Do that. I've got a feeling there's an issue in here that I'm not seeing. You know when you just got a gut feeling that there's something wrong, but you just don't know what? That's what it feels like. Not being used. Hidden. Subtitles. That's the problem. It's staying on the screen for 5 seconds. When in reality, we need to get the length of the subtitles. Add a couple, like maybe a second or two on the end. We already know that they stay on screen for 2 seconds. So we need the subtitles to hang. Or the box on the back to hang anyway, to stop it from disappearing. Game instance. What I name that? I click them and I immediately forget what I called them. Update subtitle. Right. So length. Get that. VR game instance display length should be float. VR game instance. There we go. Display length, and I can use a message length that goes through. I could. So if anybody's wondering this, I could pass through the this here, this struct, but it's a reference that I don't really need to send through to the widget. The widget doesn't need to know about it. So that's why I'm specifically not sending that struct. Goes through. I could really remove this update subtitle. I could just replace that. And then I don't really need the reference. There we go. Same exact thing. And then I need to go into here, length, and we add .5 triggerable delay. See if that fixes the background border. We jump in, we use this. There. What's going on? Subscribe. Cool. Did you hear that? What could it be? Watch out. Turn around. And then it hides. Cool. And then these are all do once, they kind of destroy themselves afterwards, which is why I can't redo the audio, which is super cool. There we go. We're going to impending sense of doom. There always is when it comes to VR. Is passing through a struct less performant than any old variable? It's going to depend. A struct still has a reference. So if I go through to my audio, because I'm not just passing through a struct, I've got to pass through the data table. So size map of a struct is negligible. It's like 2.9 kilobytes. And then I've got a primary data asset, which is 4.5 kilobytes. And then I've got one of these, which is the end result, which is 5.5 kilobytes. So it is really, really small. But in reality, the thing is the widget, which displays the subtitle, doesn't need to know about the two audio lines dialogue. So once they've got files in, it's going to increase the memory size of these specific data assets, or these structs. So once these have got stuff in there, that information, if I was passing the whole data asset through to the widget that's displayed on screen, it would also display, or it would also load into memory their audio files. So you're not just loading it twice, you're loading the audio file for the sound cue and then in the UMG. And in reality, the UMG doesn't need to know about those sound files, which is why I'm just passing through the variables themselves in here. Like, the UMG only needs to know about the subtitles or what text to display and then the length. That's literally it. But the benefit of this system is now, so in here, this is a collision. So when I walk over, it plays the audio. So I can delete all of this. And now, this is all the logic we have. But in reality, if I want to pass through a subtitle from anywhere else, let's say I picked up a gun, all I've got to do is go over to the gun class. Let's try and do this without selecting the spline. Browse to assets. I'm going to do this with the parent, so the base, and then we could say on grab, what we could do is send a subtitle to the screen. Audio cue. This could be from the player, so we don't have a player. Create variable. Ideally, I'm going to have an audio player in the player's watch or something on the player, which would then feed through to this. So we would get that. But what I'll do for now is I'll do an audio, and I'll just use this as the reference. So we've got that in there. So I hit compile, removes all the issues, and then this one, what I could say is make it public, data asset. And then now I've got access to that in here. So if I just select one at random and I do, let's do miscellaneous data asset, and this could be dialogue. And say, okay, call this pistol grabbed. I can say wheat pistol. I can have that on for 2 seconds. I could do it just changing that as a default anyway. We're not actually using that voice line complete anymore, which is cool. But I can drag this on and I could say, okay, the gun data asset is going to be pistol grabbed. So now when I go in there, we could make our way over to the gun. Pressing all the buttons. And now what should happen is when I pick up the gun, I get a subtitle that says sweet, a pistol. And then it kind of goes through it. And it's going to do that every single time I pick up the gun now. But you can see now, because I'm using the game instance, I can actually pick it all up. And then it'll just go straight through. I get you, good on you for keeping performance in mind. Cool, it's pretty much the whole thing. So this is, I'm building the game on the GDXR template, which is available through the Epic Games Marketplace. So you can download this, build your own games with it. Well, you don't have a gun class. I do. That's why I just loaded up. So if I go to here, I've got BP Weapon Master Manual Reload Base, and then this contains everything required for a manually reloading gun with blueprints. And then the two-handed shotgun is a child of that class. And then it only contains the logic for the racking mechanism, basically. And the rifle has the same thing, but for the pin on the side of the gun. And then the pistol has its own logic for handling the slide on the top. But yeah, it's cool. So I got that. I could have that in there and play a data asset, whatever I want. There we go. Now make sure I delete the audio. Make sure it's all back to what it was. I need to use the game instance more. The game instance is great because it's persistent between levels. So if you're going to have logic that's reusable everywhere, the game instance is really good to have it in as like a middleman. The problem is if you load data into it, you can still cause a memory issue, which is why in the game instance itself, I have it set up so, like this stuff, for example, is loaded in with an async. I know I'm casting to it, but it still doesn't have to be in there as a proper object, and it means that any actor that needs to send dialogue is only just using a soft reference. It just sends that through, and then when I need it, it's loaded in. So if I right click and go to size map, my game instance is still only 1.2 megs, so it's really small. I think what I need to do next is record some audio and dialogue for this, so I can then fill it in and then test it through here. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to save all, because I've got a feeling it might crash. Just know my luck. Struct, and I'm going to set this default value to 2 seconds. But what I'm going to do later on is feed it in so it gets the length of the voice line. So depending on the length of the voice line, then it's fed through. Unreal does have a subtitle system built in, but because I'm using VR, it's a bit easier to just make my own, and then I can handle where it's displayed on the screen and just manually control it a lot easier as well. So that's why I've done it a little bit more manually than you normally would. Hopefully that makes sense. The problem now is making sure that I organize this in a readable way. But what I could do as well, I could actually go to miscellaneous data table. Yeah, data table. Struct S dialog. And then I could have every dialogue in here. And then I can just select the row, which might actually be a good way of doing it. That would let me keep it. That would actually be a way better way to do it. Instruct soft reference as well, which at least it should be. Sound base. There we go. That will make it a lot smaller. Otherwise, this would balloon out. Right, if I do that, then I can go through these. This is going to be the more manual bit. It's going to annoy people, I think. Seriously wish you could just use the default instead of having to name each row. Skateboarding Blaze. What type of game is this? It's going to be a sci-fi story-driven game. Just single player, sci-fi. Add some monsters and stuff to it. Just for fun. I just want to build my own game. Not doing anything overly complex, I don't think. So no multiplayer or anything like that. But just keeping it super simple. Linear, sci-fi story. Good to go. Guns and monsters. Logan, in your experience, how often does non-VR development practices translate to VR? Oh, 100% of the time. If you know how to build a 2D game, you can no doubt get by building a VR game. VR is essentially jumping in the deep end when it comes to Unreal, in my experience. Mainly because you've got to handle 2 motion controllers, 6-stop positioning, and then the headset and the player. But you can do some really good stuff quite quickly, especially if you're using the VR template. But overall, it's all the same logic as you normally would do for a 2D screen or like a normal game. like non-VR stuff. The only thing people don't consider is the memory management. Like people tune into the streams and they see me doing all the async loading, and then we did a stream last week and somebody asked like why I was doing it. But when you consider the memory management that comes with a Quest headset on mobile VR, it's kind of crucial, and a lot of people forget that. So I think that's the main thing to consider, and just keeping that in mind as well. Cool. So in this, I could do, I could all the rows. Mm-hmm. And then I could do the same thing as this. Wait there. Default 2 seconds, that's fine. So let's try this. Data asset 2. Let's try this with a couple of them. Oh, we'll need a number array at least, and then to loop through data asset, the data table. For linear store, it would be fine. It's a case of having it all grouped together in one place, or having it split to individual files, which makes management 1,000 times more difficult. Async is just when you're using a different thread on the CPU. I believe so. Yeah, can't quote me on that. The async load node, what happens is though, it just contains a soft reference, which is a direct link to a specific location in the game that contains that file. And then when you need it, you use the async load node to say, get a reference of this thing, load it into memory, and then you can use it and access it, which is what I'm doing here. So none of this is loaded when the game starts. It's only loaded in, or at least the audio files that are inside of this are only loaded in when I tell it to do it. Hopefully that makes sense. Right, guys, it is 5 o'clock. I'm going to have to wrap up in about 10 minutes. So let's see what we can do. So did you hear that? Save. So the thing is here, these would now need a reference to what line to play. Oh, and then I've got to loop through a data asset sheet and then find the audio file. I don't think I've got enough time to switch this around anyway. So if I leave that there for now, we can have a look. See, it's like a data asset is 2.8 kilobytes, and this is already 4.2. 4.7, 12 kilobytes. I think I'm going to keep it separate. I think I'm going to separate each one. It's going to be a bit of a pain, but I can always see how it goes. Because adding the VR, or adding the files, just the rows, seem to be making that quite large. So having to load all of that in, plus the soft references for the audio, I think it's going to be a bit too much. So what's going to be easier is if I come up with a way to organize data assets. It's a shame I can't do a data table that converts each row into a data asset. Ooh, I wonder if there's a way to do that. That could work. Anubis, Game Survivor, you're the best. Thanks for all your videos. You're absolutely welcome. It's so nice hearing that people actually get used out of them. I think that's the main thing. Oh, data asset versus data table. That's going to be one to look into. I think data asset's going to be better. Individual files, I can load individual things at different points, but a data table is easier to write, but it's huge. File size is going to be quite large. The more I think about it, data assets is going to be where it is. You convert each row of a data table into a data asset. Don't think so. Data asset, data table. No, you can't. You can't. You can read, but you can't modify data assets. You can modify a struct. Pretty sure. Use when your data spreadsheet nicely. Yep. See, that's pretty much what I'm doing. Instead of an item class, I'm doing it based on subtitles and audio. So the audio files are going to contained inside the data asset. But yeah. Reading random Reddit threads for niche knowledge is so relatable. I don't use it for everything, and I don't follow it down to a T. I kind of put it all together. ChatGPT can be pretty good at answering some random questions. Let me put it on quickly. I'm pretty sure my gut feeling says that it's going to be better to use the data assets. Best performance and memory soft references keep assets unloaded until needed, reducing memory footprint. Ideal for mobile VR. Pretty much what we're doing. Ground loading can specifically text runtime. Not the whole set. Easy to expand. Each asset is modular. Can't hard to view, edit at scale. That's the problem. That's the problem right now that I'm seeing, is being able to update multiple things. Like if we could do a spreadsheet style and then convert each row into a data asset, life would be great. But it's not going to work that way. More assets and content browser to manage. Alternative data tables, pro centralized overview, great for editors, writing, and debugging, see all lines, audio paths, and metadata in one CSV style UI. Faster editing and bulk updates, fewer assets in content browser. Yeah, that's the main thing. Audio and text assets need to be soft paths or strings to avoid loading everything into memory. Trigger to maintain soft loading if using U-object references by default. Data tables can cause hard references unless you only use strings or soft paths and load manually. Right. Recommendations. Because you're targeting performance and file sizes, especially on mobile VR, best practices to stay with data assets and soft references. Yes, I've already got a working system. Don't mind changing that though. Your performance is good. The team size is small. I don't need a spreadsheet review. I know, but I want dialogue. I want a nice portion of it. Switch to a data table with soft path strings. If you want to centralize the view, you don't mind manually handling async loading from soft paths. Pretty much doing that anyway. You're comfortable scripting blueprint your own logic. That's fine. Hybrid option. You use a data table for metadata, ID, subtitle, text, asset paths as strings, and then use a data asset loader system that converts string paths to soft references on demand. This gives you best editor workflow, low memory. What? The hybrid approach combines editing easy data table with runtime efficiency of soft references, allowing it to load only what you need when you need it. Perfect for mobile, right? That's fine. Well, lightweight metadata like subtitle, text, soft reference path, audio in a data table, and then a line is triggered. You load the soft reference manually at the time. That's fine. That's pretty much what we're doing now, just with the data assets. Data table struct example. Yeah. Runtime loader. You'll need a function to look up the row. That's where I was going. Load the row, get data table, row, dialogue, load the audio async. I'm doing the exact same thing with the data asset right now. Display subtitle. I'm more confused than when I asked the question. Table viewer content browsers can be 100% good. This is what I'm seeing in my head, like intro 00. Right, so right now I'm pretty much seeing it that just loading in individual rows would work. I wonder if I could do an individual row and then have an array of the text. I think that's just going to get confusing. I think it's going to be row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, and then that kind of handles it. I think I'm going to have to sleep on this one. Make sure your paths are valid. Yeah, handle optional upgrade to use a loader class. I don't know what a loader class is. Oh, that's my game instance. That's what I've got. Finding the dialogue row, loading the audio asset, playing it and sending subtitles to UI, tracking state, e.g. is audio still playing. That's fine. The only thing I have to do is create an array that could pass through multiple rows. This says row 1, that would handle the data asset rows the same way. and go that way. I wonder if it would cause issues though with, like, as you write, if they're in the wrong order. Got no idea how big games handle it, that's the thing. So I'm just winging it. Alright everyone, I think I'm going to have to call it there, because I've got to go get my daughter from preschool. So I'm going to leave in a second before I get told off for being late. Cool, alright everybody, I will see you all next time, and thank you so much for dropping by. It's been absolutely awesome. Alright everyone.